For a vast majority of my life, I've kind of hated high fantasy. A mix of oversaturation and uncreative spin-offs really soured me on the genre. Somehow, people kept making the same magical world, which to me always felt ironic. The foundation of fantasy is building a whole new magical universe. It felt like there were a couple highly influential founding members that everyone copied into oblivion. Yet somehow, despite my inclination, the shows I've talked about most on this channel are all fantasy. I'm not the first to point at a trio of fantasy stories that feel like a harbinger for this new era, but that doesn't mean I don't want to throw my hat in the ring. I believe the primary reason my mindset on this genre has shifted so much is because of the change in quality. These shows really are true to the name, fantastic. So welcome to this week's video. My name is Pei, and today we're talking about Witch Hat Atelier and the modern fantasy revival. I get a lot of requests to talk about specific stories, but there's been one that seems to be above and beyond the rest. As of recording this April 6, 2026, Witch Hat Atelier has released its first 2 episodes. And to no surprise, given the trailers, it's immediately breathtaking. It's actually even inspired a series I plan to do in the future, exploring step by step the components that go into a visually stunning anime. But before that, today I want to focus on giving this show's release its flowers. With all the hype I've seen surrounding the release of this story, it somehow really met those expectations. In the past, when I've talked about magic in media, I very often have reduced it to power systems and structures. Remarkable tools that give protagonists the means to fight even worse villains. But one of magic's strongest influences in any given story is the ability to create a sense of wonder. And this show, immediately over every other good thing it's doing, creates a beautiful sense of wonder. From magic pop-up books to a mentor figure that can aptly be described as a mix of Howl from Howl's Moving Castle and Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. There's going to be no end of people thirsting over this character. Which leads to the main question I'd like to explore in this video. What makes modern fantasy so appealing? How have Frieren, Dungeon Meshi, and especially Witch Hat Atelier done it so right? Today's video is brought to you by Skillshare, the highest recurring partner I've had on this channel for good reason. They stand for something I believe in deeply, the development of skills, because improving is made significantly easier with proper resources and guidance. For each individual integration, I take one of their classes, which resulted in me taking Lisa Ko's 5 exercises to craft a compelling plot. I love having a great excuse to do something I'm already interested in, like learning more about writing. Because as much as I've done research in the past, actually doing exercises is significant. There are 2 fundamental parts of developing a skill, practice and theory. And while you'll have to contribute the practice, having well-structured guidance can reduce the time and all the small points of friction that come with developing a new skill. So insert Skillshare, one of the best places to pick up a new hobby or develop that skill you've been meaning to. If you're looking to reconnect with your creativity and maybe even avoid brain rot, Skillshare is a great place where people can learn from people. And there's a huge diversity of different topics you can take classes on. So often when using online resources to develop new skills, you can't curate for your skill level, which results in the time and effort you're putting in being less effective. I like that Skillshare gives you that information front and center. It helps you parse through their wide range of classes and find the right one for you. So if you're interested, the first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. Now back to the video. Something I noticed multiple times while watching these first 2 episodes was how much I found myself comparing Witch Hat Atelier to Hayao Miyazaki and Ghibli films. Maybe it had something to do with the style of expressive animation or the nature of the story in following a young, charming female protagonist being thrown into a magical world. There are multiple reasons why I think that comparison kept popping up for me, but at the forefront is the way both Witch Hat Atelier and Miyazaki use magic to evoke a sense of wonder. I mean, look at the colors and lighting used in this flashback. Magic and fantasy and storytelling should evoke strong emotions like intrigue and fascination, whether it comes from characters being excited about learning new things or having daunting realizations about the extent of how wide this magical world is. And I think that engaging with magic as a world-building tool and aesthetic is especially enhanced when you have something as beautiful as this show is. I mean, you always want a project where the whole outweighs the sum of its parts, and also for the parts to be pretty darn good. I mean, all 3 fantasy stories, Frieren, Dungeon Meshi, and Witch Hat Atelier, have fantastic scores, strong art direction, beautiful animation, and more than anything, a magical world that plays into all of those things. In all media, there tends to be trends, and it's very common for them to eventually oversaturate themselves. And while I think we're far from the most prominent pop culture trend right now, these kind of edgy shonens in JJK, Chainsaw Man, and Attack on Titan disappearing, I do think that the stories I'm talking about today are kind of a response to that. These somewhat wholesome slice of life fantasies, ones that don't necessarily shy away from action or remove it completely, just don't make it the priority. A major component on why I think Frieren, Dungeon Meshi, and Witch Hat Atelier are so popular is because of how beloved their audience is with the manga. The source material for all three is held in high regard, and it indicates that these fantastic stories have yet to reach their peaks. So let's start exploring the specifics. What makes this new age fantasy so good? The first obvious place to start is the world and magic. At the center of Frieren's story is her longevity as an elf. The inciting incident, central conflict, and Frieren's entire character arc is built around the apathy that comes from her magically enhanced life. In Dungeon Meshi, we follow a group of adventurers interacting with a magical ecosystem, becoming part of the food chain with tons of recurring themes surrounding the concept of consumption, living in a eat or be eaten world. My favorite storytelling tends to find truths in lies, placing fantastic characters in circumstances that are enhanced by the magical worlds they exist in, where the struggles they face are something that touch on the innate human condition, applying to the real world despite its total lack of magic. Because emotions, the human experience, the intensity of it all, to me feels very magical. It's like being totally immersed at a concert surrounded by thousands of people, or at a sporting event when something crazy happens. Very rarely do the recordings ever really capture the magnitude of the experience. That's where art comes in, capturing the truth of existence through manufactured emotional manipulation. In this case, a byproduct of a willing choice to engage in it. Audiences are sitting down and saying, "Tell me a good story." And magical worlds can be an amazing foundation for good stories. In Witch Hat Atelier, magic is gatekept because when it was used in the past, it was used recklessly. It's taught as something that's only available to those who are blessed at birth. Whereas in reality, anyone with the right tools, skills, and understanding can create their own magic. There's something already inherently fascinating about that concept. Coco, the protagonist, also helps a lot in being incredibly charming, because to me that's one of the most important parts of these magical worlds. How does the magical setting serve the characters and their arcs? It's a question that I think every fantastic fantasy story eventually answers, because magic can serve as both an immediate hook and as a central component of exploring the full depth of a fantastic character arc. If you look at the common storytelling structure of the hero's journey, one of the first steps is a character being thrust into the unknown. Discomfort and challenge is not only essential for conflict, but also fantastic for character growth. So take, for example, the inciting incident of Witch Hat Atelier. If you want to avoid spoilers, just skip to this timestamp. Coco is drawn heavily through an intense passion towards magic, but also promises her mother that she won't leave in pursuit of it. However, when she was younger, she received a counterfeit journal from a masked witch, one spreading magic where it's not supposed to go. Slowly dabbling in these forbidden spells, she accidentally casts one that encases her mother in crystal. So there are three aspects of this inciting incident that are really interesting. The first and most important is that these consequences set the story in motion, creating a clear A-plot for Coco to learn magic to save her mother. Second, all of these consequences are byproducts of Coco's decision. The same traits that will likely end up drawing us to this character, like the passion and curiosity she has for magic, lead to the downfall of her current circumstance. And third, finally, magic's the center of this entire inciting incident. The magical world she exists in, the passion she has for magic, the way she snoops in to learn about how it works, and the innocent ambition that backfires. My favorite fantasy stories use magic multiplicatively. It functions as a catalyst to enhance everything else about storytelling that I love. The characters, the conflict, the world. That's what Witch Hat Atelier, Dungeon Meshi, and Frieren do well. They tell a good story, and magic makes it better. I think it's always fun to have a piece of media come along that changes your opinion or perspective. I think fantasy as a genre is in a great place right now, beyond just anime. There's a couple lit RPG series that I'm a huge fan of, like He Who Fights with Monsters and Dungeon Crawler Carl. I love the absurdity of the worlds and stories being crafted, and I think they come together beautifully to explore pretty deep, complicated parts of being a person. I think storytelling in itself is kind of magic. It's definitely a melodramatic claim, but I think it's fantastic that we get to step outside of our own shoes. Our lives are so dominated by our own perspective. I distinctly remember an experience in middle school that I think a lot of people have, probably much sooner than me, that every car we pass on the freeway or person riding by on a bike has their own unique life, with tragedies and triumph, love and hurt. The billions of people that walk this planet have unique experiences that are dominated by their own perspective. And storytelling allows us an opportunity to take a step away from that, to experience a curated perspective of a life through a character. Frieren and Dungeon Meshi, and even Witch Hat Atelier so far, have been fantastic experiences, where I get to be completely emotionally invested and learn along the way. And all of these stories, incredibly grounded explorations of emotion, are set in a magical world that can't possibly exist. I think there's something fascinating about that. Because throughout my life and everything I've been through, there's been this recurring theme that a good story is enough to completely move me. I think that's why I was drawn to pursuing a career in analyzing media, as well as tiptoeing around making it. So I'm very grateful to be here for what I consider a fantasy revival, directed by a range of different fantastic stories. While this video wasn't completely dedicated to Witch Hat Atelier, I can't wait to see more. Thank you for watching. I'll see y'all next week.